Since being a whippersnapper, I've always been a fan of politically incorrect cinema. I've always enjoyed being pushed by films that have been made to purposely offend, as I enjoy exploring edgy gore and humour in film. I adore testing how much my stomach can take. I remember going to local video stores with my dad at weekends. That's when I saw this glorious bastard. This looked like my missus in a bathtub full of Yorkshire tea. Spaftastic, oh I love it. I'd ask myself, what is it that's in the crapper? Is it a mutated turd? Why does it look like rainbow shit? Does it taste like birthday cake? Or has a unicorn emptied its love sack into the toilet? I always wanted to know this. I'd later on find out that this studly bastard of a movie is not only made to offend, it's also a splatterfest. When I found this out, I had a super fun happy slappy slappy party in my pantaloons. And there was only one thing left that I had to do.
Clean your pantaloons?
That too. I had to check this politically incorrect splatterfest of a movie out for myself. Let's check out 1987's Street Trash. 1987's Street Trash begins by introducing us to Fred. Fred is a street rat, a bum. He's homeless and wears a fly on the wall in his day-to-day life. Fred wakes up from his slumber and gets caught red-handed when he steals booze when he makes a noise due to being shorted on.
Shit, drop that bottle!
Fred, knowing that he's been caught in the act, like I catch JJ in the act, makes like a tree and leaves. Damn, I'm funny. Fred, the street rat, gets chased. He jumps a wall and snatches some cash out of a homeless drug dealer's hands, who are also fellow street rats. Our stinky dirtbag Fred finally gets cornered, but today is this dirt grub's lucky day. As Fred hits the damn jackpot, a ladder conveniently drops down from an apartment that's on fire. Our walking sexually transmitted disease climbs the ladders and ninja rolls through a window, where we see two people, unlike Fred, that have an actual address, having special time together. This is an equal opportunity kind of film. As we see Winnebagos, booty, flapping tallywhackers and a woman's sensitive area. By this time I was ready for a Tommy Tank, a Tom Hanks, polished a doorknob.
Just get to it.
A wank. Our dirtbag slaps this lady's peach, that rascal, and heads outside and hides in a nearby dumpster truck. Before we move forward, I'd like to state that every character is a bottom of the barrel scumbag. The writers of this movie, Roy Frumks and J. Michael Muro, said that Street Trash was purposely made to offend its audience. When hearing this, I instantly knew that this would be deep into my Cadbury alley. My favourite scruffy rascal heads back to his local booze dealer for some cheap stuff. The cheap stuff mentioned is a drink called Viper. This poison is older than Mick Jagger, and it's being sold off on the cheap to make a quick buck. Fred isn't a regular bum though. Fred ain't got, he gon' get. A local cyborg enters the establishment and begins to malfunction. While this is happening, Fred sees a perfect opportunity to steal a bottle of Viper. He sweats like Weinstein on a rape charge and gets the heck out of there. I have a question for you. Have you ever stopped your car at a red light, then at the blink of an eye, you're surrounded by hordes of cocaine addicts that are trying to clean the windows of your car? Well, that's what occurs. Next, final boss, Big Daddy STD, the king of the Stink Mountain, makes his big entrance when this muppet tries to relate to BD STD by chatting to Big D about Nam, as the Big D has PTSD from his days back in Vietnam, which is why he's unfortunately homeless. Anyways, Mr. Bean asks Daddy to clean a spot on his car window. King of the Cocaine Addicts is more than happy to oblige. How does he help? By using Waldo's face as a sponge. That's how you perfectly establish a bastard in a movie. Now that the final boss is established, we head back to Fred, who has his bottle of Viper swiped by a so-called friend. You know the rules, my friends. This guy now has to be obliterated. This stinky meth addict finds a nice comfortable crapper to pot his shit-stained sphincter on, so he can neck some Viper. This is where something incredible happens. Roll the clip. Look at it, it's perfection. The practical effects and colours are a feast for the eyes. It's beautiful. It's like watching a pedophile being hit in the face with a cricket bat. I just adore it. This film perfectly portrays the contrast of vibrant colours against real, relatable life trauma, through dark, macabre humour and radical special effects, making real-world commentary and insane story arcs a solid foundation for an 80s body melt classic.
Evil Dead Cam.
Fun fact, the body melt scenes had to be colourful as they didn't want to get these scenes cut from the movie, which was a very wise choice as they wanted to avoid getting an X rating. As for me, these are the most enjoyable parts of this flick. This is a feast for the eyes. By this time I started to projectile vomit. I then paused the movie after I'd lost weight due to puking. I pressed play and was introduced to BDSTD, making meth babies with the love of his life. After taking his missus on a weenie ride, he helps his girl have a nice relaxing sleep and helps her to bed. We're introduced to Fred's buddy, who's in a store. He's a chap of colour and is caught stealing chicken and watermelon. I did tell you that it was made to offend. He's caught stealing but tries to reason with the store owner by asking to be let off due to being a brother. The store owner has none of it and is one of the only people with good morals in this movie. Anyhow, Fred's buddy makes a genius escape.
Watch this one now.
This next scene is the one that left me shocked and made me want to shower. Our rascal Fred sees an incredibly intoxicated woman and decides to take her home to his lair, where he goes bareback with her. While this is going on, homeless folk step out from the fog. This scene looks great and reminds me of zombie flicks from the 70s and 80s. These hobo zombies watch Fred in the act. Fred then makes like a tree and leaves. Yeah, I said it again. Now that he's left, the hobo zombies break in and carry her into the fog. Then it leaves the rest to the imagination, and I'm glad that it does, as nobody wants to see that act in a movie. The actor in this scene has lost 50% of her hearing due to a real life attack in New York. That's just awful and was incredibly brave to take up that role. Street Trash is a cartoonish flick with extremely dark humour that aims to be political in nature, but this scene was a little too much for me. But that's what Street Trash aims to do in the first place. It's to shock you. Here's some fun facts. The guy that played the cop was a former cop in real life. The word fuck is spoken 128 times. The prop guys made 3 different sized cocks, the pecker, the poker and the packer. Bam Bam Bigelow, the owner of the junkyard that Fred resides in, gets his sexy place licked by a hobo junkyard dog. Bam Bam does what anybody would do after having their bollocks licked. He smokes a cigarette, but while smoking he sees the naked deceased body of the intoxicated woman from earlier.
He does the decent thing though and calls the cops.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. He decides, while no one is looking, that it's a great time to go heal us to Jesus with her body. You think Street Trash can't sink any lower? You thought wrong, my friends. And if you did, then pat yourself on the back. You earned it. The Movie Massacre Show will be back after this short break.
So she's just gonna stand there, like the whole time? We still got to drink the tea though, right? Okay, so, Captain Kirk, released, some old lady diaper kind of nappy type things. They were called Shatner pads.
Fred takes a walk and gets attacked by Big Daddy STD. Fred's about to visit the pearly gates when a bum decides that it's a good time to release the Kraken and pee. He has an instant level of regret when Big D slices it off and decides to play catch with it with the lower tier meth addicts. I told you it'd get worse, or better, depending on your humour. Just a quick note, earlier on in the movie we're introduced to a crooked cop. He's a no good scumbag who abuses his power, beats down on people and vomits on them for good measure. He's hunting Big D down and eventually finds him. Does the cop win? No! He gets annihilated and then receives a golden shower. Lovely. This, my friends, is where the good stuff comes in. Fred returns to the local boozer and buys more Viper. He finds a place to drink it, but right before the bottle touches his lips, Fred witnesses his buddy drink it. Then this happens. Fred then realises that it's go time and sees that Viper is taking lives. Fred tracks down a guy that bullies him and kindly offers him a drink of Viper. It's so tasty that it transforms him into unicorn spaff. Fred heads back to his trash yard to find his younger brother, who earlier on in the movie hit it off with an employee of the scrapyard. Big DSTD wants her for himself, as earlier on his queen had her orbs melted off when she indulged in Viper. Big D tries to kill Fred's younger brother, but our ass-slapping rascal saves the day and hits the sexy diseased bastard with some Viper, right in the face. His face begins to melt and he looks like a stroke victim. He's fucking indestructible, of course, and raises Fred above his head. Fred's about to be unsubscribed from life when wham! He's saved by his brother. He gets the girl and becomes the new Rat King. Street Trash is a masterpiece in its own right and needs to be discussed more often. It's the full reflective embodiment of today's society regardless of class, age, gender or race. It addresses problems we all face as humans and forces us to peer into the darkest parts of ourselves in a fun and colourful way. This film deals and addresses the absolute shit show of a world we live in long before woke became a thing, but does it in a way that grabs attention by means of offending its audience whenever and wherever it can. It takes situations such as homelessness, PTSD, murder, domestic violence, gang rape, racism, necrophilia, male castration, police brutality. It explores some of the worst things to happen to not simply men and women, but to humans from all walks of life, all wrapped up in this fucking gem of 80s cheese. Street Trash is a cinematic cousin of trashy flicks like Toxic Avenger and other movies such as Slime City and Society. This is a movie that makes you laugh, but makes you question why you're laughing. This flick wouldn't stand a fighting chance in today's cancel culture due to faceless words on a screen saying that it's not politically correct and doesn't provide a positive message. But I disagree. Street Trash opens your eyes to the negatives of the real world, like Big D for example. He's on the streets due to having PTSD. It's situational. People are a product of their environments. People in this movie have had lives that have spiraled out of control. They have nothing left. They were forced to steal to survive. They're judged on face value, and it commentates on us being street trash due to judging others at face value. This movie gives me a positive message. Don't judge, be understanding, be good to each other. We all need positivity in our lives, especially right now. Street Trash is a fantastic body horror with a dark, trashy, gritty feel, with exceptional practical effects. It hits hard with its message and gets a rating of 10 Dave Chappelle's out of 10. If you've seen this movie, then get in the comments section and let's talk about it. Let me know how you feel, and if you haven't seen it, you need to see this movie. If you are affected by anything mentioned in this video like homelessness, PTSD or anything else, there are people to talk to. There's always phone numbers to call, so please don't hesitate. Anyways, check this out if you haven't seen it. We'll see you later on in December. We love you. Siddy.